Hi there, this is going to just be a quick set of exercises and movements, things that you can do to help strengthen and stabilize your hip muscles and glute muscles, and also add in a little bit of hip mobility, particularly working on the leg bone in the hip socket. So our hips need to have a combination of mobility and also strength and support. So these are just some exercises that you can do. You could do this whole thing all together just as one um, short little class, or you could just pick a few exercises to do each day to work on targeting different things as far as supporting, stabilizing, increasing mobility, and strengthening your hips and glutes. So the first one that we're going to do is just starting to get just work on a little mobility to start with. So I'm sitting on a pillow. I'm just going to come into butterfly. So I'm just going to bring the soles of my feet together, bring blocks under both knees to support my legs so they can completely relax on the inside, so they're just nice and supported. So it doesn't matter where your legs are. You've got different heights on the blocks, so you can position them however. You want to try to have your spine kind of nice and neutral here. You want to be sitting up as tall as you can here. So just do this that neutral spine. And then we're just going to start to gently rock. So the movement comes just from the hips, right? Just the hips, the leg bones moving in the hip socket. Just gently rocking. So low back should be nice and stable. We're not moving into a forward fold. Just rocking. Just a little bit of movement for those hip joints, ball and socket joints. Just take a little bit of that movement. Couple breaths. Okay. And then just bringing your legs back together and straight out in front. And you can keep your knees a little bit bent, maybe support with blocks again, or you could have them flat. And then the same thing, just a little gentle rock there. Again, you want your back nice and neutral. And it doesn't matter how big this movement is. So if there's not a lot of movement there, maybe you're just really small. Just moving that leg bone however much is available to you. Okay. And then you can let that go and maybe just bring your hands behind you, bend your knees, and we're just going to windshield wiper knees. And again, it doesn't matter how little or how far your knees go. Just want to keep your hips nice and level. So it's about moving the leg bone and the hip socket. You should feel that in that leg bone and the hip socket. You should feel that in that joint. Okay, so then from there, we'll go ahead and come onto our sides and do a little bit of strengthening. We're working on strengthening the outside of the hip. So I'm going to just move my pillow out of the way, down onto my side, and rest my head on my hand. If that's not comfortable for you, you could bring your head all the way down to a pillow, or just rest your head on your arm. So then we're going to have knees bent here, and spine is nice and neutral. And then I'm just going to lift this leg using the strength of the outside of the hip. And my feet stay together. I'm just lifting the leg and lowering. I'm just going to do 5 on each side. You could do more, you could do less. Just try to keep that on the outside. 4, 5, and then I'm going to hold hold it up for about 30 seconds. And lower. So you could do that a couple times if you wanted to. You can repeat it. You could just do it once, just depending on how you're feeling. Okay, and then we'll just switch sides and do the other side. So same thing. My knees are stacked, my hips are stacked. Other arm resting in front, or you can rest it on your hips so you can really kind of feel that muscle engage. And we're just lifting the strength of that muscle. Notice if there's other parts of your body that want to tense up when you're doing this. Like for me, my shoulders are like, I can help. So they try to help. 4, one more time, 5. Then I'm going to go up and hold for 30. And then lower it back down. Awesome. All right. And then you might feel that a little bit, so you might come back to seated, maybe hug your knees in. I'm just going to let that go for a minute. And then the next one we're going to do is going to be on our bellies. So this is one that's going to target more of the glutes. We're just going to come onto our bellies. And you can rest your head all the way down, maybe on your hands. You can shape them like a triangle all the way down or out to the side, cheek to the mat. And we're just going to lift one leg at a time, just using the strength of the leg, the glute, back of the leg, glute, hip, back of the hip. And then switch legs. And just go back and forth. I'm just going to do about 5 on each side. And again, it doesn't matter how high you get. If you want to try lifting both legs, you can do that a couple times. So just rest for a sec after you do your 5. And then just lift both legs at the same time. Maybe they only come up just a tiny little bit. That's okay. Just still be breathing. And then lower back down. You might do that one more time, lifting both legs up. And then lower back down. So from here, go ahead and press back up. Might feel good to just maybe take a quick IELTS, sink your hips back, lower down to the mat for a few breaths. And then the next one we're going to do, we're going to come onto our sides again. So I'm going to use a wall for this one. So I've got my wall handy here. So I'm going to scoot up to next to the wall. And again, resting my head on my hands, or you could rest it on a pillow. And I'm going to have my legs bent, whatever amount I need to be able to place my foot flat on that wall with my knee still a little bit bent here. So I'm just going to lift that leg a little bit and then place the foot on the wall. And then I'm just pressing it into my heel, pressing my heel into the wall. It doesn't need to be a lot. I'm not going to press so hard that I'm scooting myself away from the wall. I'm just pressing into the wall, activating that hip, leg, glute, and just holding there. And then you can release that out. And then maybe just hug that knee in. And I'll just do that a couple times on each side. Pressing it through your heel into the wall. Just really activating that hip. And then releasing that. Thanks. And then we'll do that on the other side. I'm going to use the other wall. I'm not facing away from the camera. The same thing. Just however much you need to. Have your knees slightly bent. Placing that foot. My foot is right about hip level, so it's not that high up. Pressing into the heel, holding for a few breaths. And then releasing. Just hug that leg in. One more time. And thanks. And we're just gonna stretch those, a little stretch for the front of the hips. So you could do this on your belly, or you could also do it on your side. So you're just gonna reach back and catch hold of the top of your foot and start to send that top knee back toward the back wall, stretching the front of your hip there a little bit. It's like a kind of like a quad stretch, except you're lying down on your side instead of standing up and balancing. Okay. And then you can switch sides, do that one on the other side. And if it's not available to you to catch hold of your foot with your hand there, and be able to press that knee leg back toward the wall, you could also take a strap around that foot and hold with the strap. Just gives us a little release in the hip flexors and the quad. And let that go. And then we're going to do one in standing and then a couple on our backs. Go ahead and find your way up to standing. And we're just going to take a lunge here. So just find a stance that's comfortable for you with your feet a little bit apart. I'm going to use the wall, so I'm not really focused too much on balance here. And then just sliding one foot back. So you could stay on the ball of that foot, or you could bring your heel down. whichever is more comfortable and lets you be able to access this movement. So what we want to do is have the back knee bent, right? And our hips nice and level here. And then we're just going to start to straighten that back knee and bend. Straighten and bend. So this is really activating that glute, back of the hip, right? And then also kind of a release for the front of the hip here. Straightening and bending. And if it doesn't go straight all the way, that's fine. So we want to keep our spine nice and neutral here. So what we don't want to happen is a big arch. We're going to make that movement in our low backs. So just keep it isolated to the leg. Maybe 5 times on each side, and then maybe you just straighten and hold. And then release that. And you can step that foot up. You hug that knee, rotate your ankle. You can just switch sides when you're ready. So step the other foot back, any amount. And again, it's fine to be flat on your foot here. Just if you do come down to your heel, just making sure that you can still access that movement. And it might be smaller if your heel is down. That's totally fine. With your heel lifted on the side, you bend and straighten. Really activating back of the leg, glute, hip, bending, straightening. And then straighten and hold. And then releasing. And same thing. Step it out, move around a little bit, shake it out. And from here, we're going to go ahead and come back down to our backs. So we're going to do a bridge. This is going to be what we want to happen is for our hips to lift straight up. For me, I need a little support under my upper back for that movement to be really accessible and to help support me a little bit. So you could try it with a pillow under your back and without and see which one works better. I'm going to use with the pillow. So the top of the pillow is about even with my shoulder, or my the tops of my shoulders. Sorry, it actually comes up a little higher than that. This is a fairly big pillow, so you might have a smaller one. And that just gives that little bit of support for me to help me as I lift to go straight up. So what we want to happen is our hips to lift straight up, not forward, right? So that would be forward. That's not what we want. You'll feel your head slide forward if that happens. What we want is straight up. Right? So that's a different movement, and it really requires the use of glutes and hips for that to happen. So your glutes don't have to be clenched, but you should be able to feel that activation to lift you. Okay? So we're going to do that about 5 times. And lowering. So they go straight up. Lower. And again, if it's not working for you with the pillow, just try it without. Just try to remember that the movement is hip straight up. Last one. And then we're going to hold. Feel free to come out of it anytime you need to. You can hold for about 30 seconds. And then lowering back down. Awesome. All right. So one more, just for a little bit of mobility. My kitty decided to get in the video. I always have a cat appearing in the video at some point. It's just the way they are. All right. So this one's just a little bit more mobility. So we're just gonna bring one leg up. Both feet are bent, both legs are bent. One foot on the mat, one leg bent, and then just rotate that leg outward. So trying to rotate the big leg bone in the hip socket. So rotating outward, and then just bring your ankle somewhere on your knee or top of your leg there. And then just relax that leg as much as possible. Relax, relax, relax. And then you might just take some little movements here. So you're trying to move the leg bone in the hip socket away from your body and then toward your body. So it's going to be really small. It's going to be the muscles on the back of the hip that move it away from your body. And then just relaxing those, lets it come back toward your body. Just maybe 5 or 6 times on each side. And then you can just rest there. A few breaths. Relax that leg and hip. Maybe you just hug that knee in towards your chest, to your ankle. That feels good. And then just switching sides. So other leg comes up. So I have one leg that rotates a lot more than the other. So it's fine. Just rotate it however much it goes. Rotate it outward. Ankle toward top of my leg, knee, and then just relax. You can just move that leg bone again away from your body. You can use your hand a little bit at first. Sometimes that helps to find the movement, move it away from your body, toward your body. One more, and then just relax. One side is way stickier for me than the other, so it's fine. I just work with what I've got. Take a few breaths. And then again, you might just hug that knee in on the side. And you can relax there if you'd like to. Or when you're ready, come back up to seated. And that is all for today. So again, you could do those, you could do that as just a little class practice each day for your hips, or you can just pick a couple from the series to do to work on a little bit of mobility and strengthening each day. So thanks for joining me. See you next time.